During his first year of college, Lenin will be expelled from college and arrested when a student revolt breaks out. The police report says that Lenin is charged with that, quote, active participation in the organization of revolutionary circles among the student youth of Kazan, where he was attending university. This, of course, brings a horrible strain on his mother, on his family. They saw Alexander hanged not too long before, and now they see young Lenin going down the same path. Lenin is put on kind of a loose house arrest and has to live with his mother, which irks him. And he's on condition of good behavior, is not sent to jail just yet. He's subject to constant police monitoring. Lenin hated the school system there so much because it was so authoritarian. Much of the resentment of Tsarist Russia actually formulated within the university system among the students. And maybe that's not surprising to us. Lenin applied to do independent study in college and to do his jurisprudence degree by himself rather than going to university. And he went and took the exam after studying on his own and again graduated top of his class, beating out all the other university students who were admitted into the program. This is just coincidentally, Vladimir's older sister, Olga, dies of typhoid fever on the 4-year anniversary of their brother Alexander's hanging. This was hard on the family. Eventually, Lenin does get rearrested, and he goes to prison for his activities. I'm trying to do a quick version here. 1895, he's 25 years old. The police show up at his door and take him into custody. He's placed in cell number 193 in the House of Preliminary Detention. The circle of friends around him are also taken into custody, and so are some of his siblings. He spent 14 months in detention there. He treated the time there, quote unquote, as a political sabbatical, reading voraciously. He had previously prepared coded communication with his colleagues so that he or they could communicate in just such an instance. One of those methods was milk ink, which they wrote on. After 14 months of imprisonment, Lenin and his circle of friends, they were part of a group called the Union, the St. Petersburg Union of Struggle at the time. They were all sent to 3 years exile in Siberia. Lenin, however, petitions on behalf of his poor health and is sent to a place that's a little bit nicer. It's called the Italian Siberia, or Siberian Italy. It has nicer weather. And he had a case of nerves his whole life and anxiety. While he's banished to exile, though, his younger brother Dmitri and his sister Maria are separately arrested for revolutionary activities. And it seems that all the Yuvanov children are following in their older brother's footsteps. Let's see. I'm going to close on a note of Lenin and female romantic interests because we're all getting tired. And then we'll do part 2 next week. So by age 25, either Lenin had no female romantic interests, or a sense of decorum or hagiography prevented these from being recounted. But while he was in exile, he's now 27, suddenly he becomes engaged to a fellow Marxist revolutionary named Nadezhda Krupskaya, and I'm sure I pronounced that just perfectly, so just accept that, who is currently serving a separate exile. Lenin and Krupskaya had been friends before the respective exiles, but the plan was, once they got engaged, they hoped to be transferred to the same camp of exile. And they were. And I'm going to read this quote here really fast because it's really interesting. And then I'll close with him in exile. This is to expound a little bit on some of the romantic notions that Lenin and his circle of friends had about regarding romantic love. Some have written of him that this arranged marriage in the camps was just a matter of facility so that he could transfer another Marxist revolutionary to his camp. But many in the circle quote, "The point is that romantic love, where a man and woman fall passionately in love, was not a condition to which either Vladimir or Nenizet aspired," his fiancée. Both wrote little about their feelings for each other. But after Vladimir's death, Nenizet wrote a furious letter in 1927 to Bolshevik Party historian Vladimir Sorin about the kind of relationship that they had enjoyed, approval among Marxist revolutionaries of their generation. She strenuously opposed Sorin's suggestion that such revolutionaries fell hopelessly in love with each other. She said they consciously rejected contemporary bourgeois attitudes to matters of the heart and instead aimed to construct a new way of life, and they supposed that their own relationship should be focused upon working collaboratively for the cause of revolution. For them, the idea of a permanent marital union had distasteful connotations: tradition, religion, economic self-interest, and the subjection of the wife to the husband. Russian Marxists, as Nadezhda pointed out, were keener than their counterparts elsewhere in Europe to form loose partnerships for the greater good of the cause. So take that for what it's worth. And if you guys have any questions, but I think we could probably hold off until next time. We'll come back to Planktonov, to the agrarian socialists, and to the nuts and bolts of Leninism. Go for it.
It is worth noting, however, I don't know if you're going to touch on this, one of the main reasons, right, you often hear that Lenin, hated Stalin at the end of his life. One of the main reasons he disliked Stalin is because Stalin swore at his wife. So, I mean, not to necessarily undercut the position, but right, one of the big cores of his political break with Stalin was that Stalin was very rude to his wife, and in fact, he wrote his testament to the Central Committee, not saying about his wife, but saying that Stalin should not have the position of General Secretary because he literally, this was literally in there, was too rude.
Whose wife? Lenin's wife or Stalin's?
Lenin's wife. Stalin swore at Lenin's wife. What is it? Nodoskaya? What's her name?
I don't know. I pronounced it like 8 different ways.
But again, not to undercut.
No, but I agree with you, and I think that was her point that she wrote to that historian later on. She said, we were trying to redefine the nature of relationships, but we were very much in love.